All right, joining us now here on the bench, making his triumphant return. It's been a little minute. That's Michael Alford, FSU's Vice President and Director of Athletics. Michael, welcome back to On the Bench.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy talking to you guys. Y'all do such a great job of covering this, and I appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you for saying such nice things about us. As you're joining us here from your vantage point in your office, I believe you can see some of the renovations going on in Doak. So maybe get us an update of what you're seeing, what's going on right now.
Well, to see the progress come along, doing tours, and I try to get through each building, whether the stadium or the football only facility, about once a month, once every 2 or 3 weeks, and see the progress. Everything on time. I saw there was some internet rumor that we were delayed. That's inaccurate. Uh, Everything is on time. Stadium's going to be finished into July. Football facility will be mid-August. So it's really exciting to see the investment that we're making into football, which ties into some of the long-term vision that we have here as an athletic department, but playing catch up with what others, as an institution, we just kind of let people pass us and didn't invest. And to keep up with what everyone else is having. But this is going to be the finest facility in the country for football. Can't wait to take you guys through it. I know y'all saw the stadium and tour, but really looking forward to showing you what we're doing there, because I think it's going to set new trends for the rest of the country.
With regards to the football only facility, how much has each department within football, nutrition, video, so on and so forth, had kind of a hands-on finger touch approach to how you guys do things there and to make it unique, but also basically make it where it's efficient for the program?
Yeah, we go through the different programs, nutrition area, what Scott Trueluck's doing in the medical area, the coaches' offices, what we're doing on development and recruiting, what the weight room's going to look like. So we sit down with all stakeholders and go through the program, what they need, what can set us apart. Work with our great architects and Populous, who is just the absolute best out of Kansas City, and really come up with a game plan and a vision to pour everything into our student athlete. And that was Coach Norvell's and my vision going into this. And I've said it a million times, you're not going to see any gimmicks in this building. This building is about development. It's about for the program. What can we do to make us better? And having input from all the different stakeholders really allows us to go out and do things that are going to set us apart.
Is the full move in for the football only facility still planned for the bye week in September?
That's what we're talking about. Yeah, it's a constant move, but we're probably looking at right now. The plan is to move into the bye week, that first bye week, which I think is mid September.
As someone who grew up in the football stadium, and people always bring this up on the side every year, Wi-Fi, is it going to be improved any with renovations?
We are working on the DAS system. We're working on everything we can do to make it better in the stadium. So that is something that we're constantly looking to improve, and working with our partners, our AT&T and Verizon, and what can we do, and looking at the different issues that we have in the stadium. How do we improve?
Nee, was Wi-Fi even a thing when you were first going to the stadium?
No.
No. Okay.
You don't have any problems up there in the media.
No, we're good in the box.
We're pretty good,
but,
yeah.
The wife may text me once in a while that it's not working so well down there.
That is correct.
Facility-wise, beyond football, obviously you're working on lacrosse with Sarah and getting that off the ground. Is there any other projects that are on the verge of getting underway, or anything you're on the verge of rubber stamping?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, Chris. We have a timeline of what we're trying to get accomplished. All the investments we've made in softball, looking at chairback seating in soccer. How do we make that happen for the fan experience, and maybe even season ticket that a little bit more? Looking constantly at baseball, we're closing the batting cages, raising money for that. Looking at how do we enhance in baseball, and so it's really looking at a game plan for everything moving forward. Looking at a beach volleyball facility, doing studies right now for that. So everything we're looking at is how do we improve, and how do we put a game plan together to address these issues, because we can't go years and not constantly be getting better in the facilities, and not constantly looking at deferred maintenance and what can we do to improve the overall experience, whether it's student athlete experience or fan experience. What facility can we do? What can we do in each facility to make it better? So it's a constant battle and a constant vision that we have, but more importantly, it's about planning. We know in putting things in a time order of when we're going to address them and what needs to be addressed. And that's something that we didn't have here that we have installed, and really each year going to be looking to make upgrades and make the fan experience and student athlete experience better.
I say this slightly tongue in cheek, but has Luke Laux, after 30 days on the job, hit you up about a new arena?
No, hadn't hit me up a new arena. Tux, when I travel with our basketball team and look at all the different arenas, and I always look at what can we do to improve recruiting. If you're an 18, 22-year-old kid walking in, we're not going to lose a recruit due to Tuck. Now, there's things we can do to make it better, and we're looking at that right now, especially on the student support. And you're going to hear it first. We're looking at how do we get students more involved into the atmosphere of the game. Got a plan I got to take to the president about that, but that's something that I've been wanting to do since I've been here as athletic director, is kind of look at how can we get the students more involved around courtside. And so that's something we're looking at. Haven't made a decision on it yet, but it is a priority for us when it comes to basketball. Now's a great opportunity. But just looking at the arena, at the indoor facility, I would have built it different, but it's not bad. When I look at indoor facilities across the country and we updated the timeline and the recruiting path. And now you've heard Luke say it before, those offices need to be updated. So we got a plan right now, and I was waiting for the transition to say, what do you want? And the weight room, we're updating the weight room there. It was not in good shape. So that project's going on. The offices project's going on. So it's constant little updates that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes. You see the big buildings, the stadium, and the big things we're doing, the big things we did at softball. But there's a lot of projects like that, little one, office renovation, team meeting room renovation, have been touched in 20 years, bringing in the latest technology in those areas that probably a lot of people don't see are getting done, but they have an impact on our student athletes and their performance.
How impressed have you been by Luke over 30 days of assembling a staff, getting out and fundraising, having the meetings with current players, and basically making it clear you're wanted here, you're welcomed here, or it's probably not the best place for you because the system, and so on and so forth?
Well, he came in, yes, he came in with a game plan, and the energy level that he has brought to the program is second to none. And going through the process, and it was an extensive process of a lot of interviews. I think Luke and I sat down 4 different times to go through this, and the people who were interested in this job. But he just kept performing every time, and his vision ties in with my vision of where the program needs to be. So, I always say I hire the general. I don't get into the lieutenants, and I don't get into the soldiers. But to see him in a game plan he has for the program, type of athlete, the type of player, and the type of person he wants involved in the program to get here and really hit the ground running. Whether it's the player side of things and putting roster management, or going out and meeting with donors and fundraising. He's done a tremendous job of going hand in hand with the Seminole Boosters to go out and fundraise for basketball and get people excited about where the future and the vision of the program's heading. So really excited to see what he's done the first 90 days. He's just really entrenched himself into the community, into what we're trying to do. He was a natural fit for our overall athletic department culture, which is very important to me when I hire a coach, that they're going to come in and fit what we're doing, fit Lonnie, fit Sarah Tisdale, fit Penske, really fit the culture and work together. I mean, Luke came out and brought a student athlete, a recruit out to football practice one day. That never happened. And him and Mike are hand in hand and helping each other. So that was one of the big things that stood out to me since he's been here 90 days, how he's hit the ground running of already fitting in what we're trying to get accomplished in our vision and our culture.
B, have at it. You're muted.
Amateur hour here. I do love, as we're talking to Michael, that you can hear the construction going on in the background.
Yes.
That seems appropriate.
That's just actually that's a soundtrack loop in his office.
Yeah, art in our dust.
He's-
I will tell you, we walk around. I love big cranes.
they're all over the place.
It gets me excited because it means we're getting better.
Yeah.
It means we're providing the fan experience, student athlete experience. It just means progress. And like I said earlier, if you're not constantly looking to get better, that's something that we talk about all the time in our exec meetings. What are we doing tomorrow to make sure we're getting better? But when we talk facilities, the planning of what we want to address and when we want to address it, it also allows us a fundraising plan to go out and accomplish our goals. So I love big cranes going around, hard hats and dust. I love
it. So with that in mind, like I remember before you got here, and maybe even a few years before that, like a big talking point for the fan base consistently, and it was this narrative that I don't know if it was totally fair or not, was that FSU wasn't as committed to football as some other programs in its footprint. And now we look at, when the time to pay Coach Norvell came up a year ago, you guys stepped up. We look at the facilities that are being built for football, for Doak, like it's all very obvious. So that there's a commitment. The latest round of commitments to me seemed, Michael, was you guys committed to this coaching staff, to Mike Norvell's vision specifically. There were buyouts that were needed to move on from some coaches, and then there was obviously a decent amount of money that was spent to bring in some really high-end coordinators. I guess why was that important to invest back into Coach Norvell in that capacity this offseason?
Well, it fits everything with like culture, because you got to be looking, as I said earlier, to get better. So Coach Norvell and I sit down and have a game plan and a vision of how do we improve and what elements do we need to improve in as a program moving forward. And the facility-wise, of course, you touched upon, and you've heard me say it a lot. We were dead last in dedicated football space in the ACC, 40,000 square feet, which was just amazing to me when I got here. And you do the study and you do the analytics of the investment. We weren't investing into the sport. That's our biggest return, and making sure that they have the proper equipment, the proper experience, the proper coaching staff, the proper everything involved in the program to make sure that we were investing to get better, because even with the revenues that come in, we have to be successful there. There's no doubt. And especially now with the ACC settlement, we have to be successful in football. So it's making sure that they have the proper tools to go out and compete amongst the nation's best. And when we first got here, those tools were not there. And so it's making sure they have the tools and the experience to recruit the best student athletes. They had a 3.3 GPA, set a new record last year. So they're doing it on the field and in the classroom. That's something I'm very proud of what he's accomplishing. But then this investment in the coaching staff. You look at what changes need to be made. And we're going to make changes as we move along to make sure that we're providing the very best to our student athletes to have success. And that's facilities, that's coaching. So we thought there was time. We thought it was time. Mike and I, we meet every Sunday after games and go through a lot of different analytics and parts of the program, and thought it was time to bring in a new energy. And that's definitely been accomplished. I love what we're doing defensively. I love the attacking style that we brought in. I know y'all have been to a couple of practices, but it's different. It is really different looking at the 3-3-5 with Tony, and then going out and getting Gus, and one of the greatest offensive minds in the history of college football, getting him in here as well to run the offense, which allows Mike to be the CEO and to have his hands more. And I mean, we meet. He was just in my office. He actually walked out because I had to get on this with you guys. But he and I were talking about various things, and the communication is so key with he and I and all my coaches. It is communicate. So they know what the vision is, and I know what they need to be successful, so we can supply those metrics to them. So decisions are made. They're always tough, but you got to make decisions to move forward.
Did you talk, Mike, about being CEO, or did he talk to you about being CEO, or did that just kind of come organically because of the hires made?
Yeah, it's kind of organically, Chris. I can go back. He and I talk about a lot of things. especially going through the season we had last year. There's a lot of conversations that he would I would have just about the future and where we're going, and how much I believe in him and what he does, how much we all believe in him. And I get to see. I'm fortunate, as y'all know, and y'all get to see some of the things on the back end, type of student athlete he was, what he demands of them in the classroom, in society, and going out in the community and representing this program. So, the type of student athletes he brings in is really special. All of our coaches, we got 550 great stories and student athletes on this campus. But, it's just something that just kind of organically happened. To answer your question, it's like, okay, what do we need to get better? What are we missing? What improvements can we make? And we thought that was one of many improvements we talked about, was allow him to be more active in other parts of the program that being offensive coordinator were kind of taken away from him.
It's funny that, Chris, that's exactly what I was going to ask. So it's my work spouse, and I think
you guys are
similar
to each other. Same wavelength.
For better or worse, yes. With the mind of like improving the program and always kind of evaluating, Michael, like what you guys can put into it, invest in it, and weigh in the resources. Like, I'm curious. I know you've been involved in setting up some meetings and talking to like NFL teams about salary cap management and whatnot. The idea of like the NFLification of college football. I know some people talk about, some believe it's less prevalent. It's not going to happen to that extent. But like, as you look at the front office, the way it's constructed right now at Florida State, Mike's been pretty cutting edge with that. A lot of programs have caught up.
Right. Thank you for noticing that, Brendan, because we've had a general manager for 3 years.
Right.
I had somebody reach out to me and go, why don't y'all hire a general manager? I'm like, we've had one for 3 years.
We've had one. So I think, like, as I look at it from like the recruiting perspective, and I see this a lot on our message board, is like people get worried that there's NFL, like GMs are being hired with NFL ties, and the people with just NFL model in mind. Like, are you guys comfortable with where you're at as a front office right now? Is there a look to continue, I guess, to expand it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've y'all both know how analytical I get. I love numbers. I love looking at what because it doesn't lie. I always say 25%, you're going to have relationships and make decisions off that. Another 25 is going to be analytics, and then 50% is going to be gut. But those relationships and those analytics drive your gut decision, and they weigh in heavily. But we've been breaking it down from day one of looking. We know exactly what an NFL room spends on their cap. We got breakdowns of every team, every NFL, and then the average of a roster, like running back room in the NFL is 4% of their cap. So just kind of breaking that down, we've already been there, and we've been doing it for 3 years, like I mentioned. But we do kind of model ourselves after an NFL team. You look at a quarterback room's 11 point something percent in the NFL. Well, we look at it and go, it's a little different. They only have two, maybe one. So 11% is on two guys. Really only one guy that's pulling the trigger in the NFL. We're going to have more quarterbacks than that. So how do we mirror that a little bit? But we've been doing that, been doing it very well. I give our staff down there, Derek Ray, Bruce Warwick, and, Bruce has so much NFL experience. We've been analyzing that way from day one and kind of mirroring it, how much it's a good guideline to what position room we need to spend on our cap.
Does the hire of Turner fit into that? Like, is he involved in that portion of it, or where does Josh's role kind of fit?
Yeah, Josh is our new CFO, and I call him Elon because he's coming in Doge and looking at everything we do, making cuts. So his nickname is just Elon around the office when I need him. But, he's coming in and really he's so analytical, which I love, breaking down the budget. Where are we fat? How can we trim this? And how can we provide whatever we do back to the experience of the student athlete? So, he works with us on the cap. He and I together had a meeting this morning already on looking at the future. And so that's just some of the things that he's brought to the table to allow us. Now, he did have a lot of experience in that. He was at Miami before, Georgia Southern now here, but he's done a terrific job. He's very highly intelligent, and he and I look at things the same way. and he really does a great job of looking at my vision and some of the questions I have and helping me on the back end really break down the analytics so I can make a decision moving forward.
Just as a point of clarity, is Josh involved at all with the negotiation process for any players? Okay.
No, he's not. He manages the cap. Now he works closely internally.
Okay.
Hey, this is where we're going to be, and but he's not involved in the negotiation.
Okay.
I stay out of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to negotiate if I didn't have to either. With the idea of cap, so a little bit of a prelude here. Like, I know House settlement is still ongoing. I followed. There was a lot of stuff yesterday on it. When with the assumption, like, if and when that occurs, we're talking about some are saying a hard cap, some are saying a soft cap because NIL will still be a factor. To what extent? I know there will be like regulations and whatnot, but like I think I wanted to get clarity on, Michael, is I've seen like quotes from Syracuse's head football coach talking about like a $6 to $8 million war chest, and I know Oregon and the state is like trying to have an NIL deal to where they can go above and beyond what would be regulated. If some people aren't abiding by the strict regulations that are being set, is there a plan for Florida State? I guess what is the plan if not everyone's playing by the same set of rules as everyone would like, I guess?
Yeah, we're going through that, and we have different scenarios and running out. I call it running out the ground ball. We're running out the ground ball in all three as this thing comes. Now the House needs to hopefully get passed with Judge Wilkin. Everything, even after yesterday, still positive. She had some questions, and the lawyers of the Power Four are going to go back and answer and educate her. But that would put everything on equal playing field. It's going to come down, and having worked in the NFL and knowing what that process is, especially range of comparison to other deals. And if you have an athlete that's call that a local Toyota deal, having that and what that fair market value cost to compare range of comparison is for that student athlete. I have experience in that from the NFL. It's very stringent. And I've been telling other ADs, like, I have no one on my campus probably worth, if they were to go out and do a true NIL deal and go through the evaluation, no one probably worth more than $20,000 to sponsor, $10,000 to sponsor a deal. So that number is going to come down, in my opinion. There'll be a few athletes. You take Cooper Flagg, he could be a national face for something. But very few of those guys and girls exist in the country to make those dollars. Especially when it comes to national, like Jared Verse. He did that national Powerade commercial a couple years ago. Not to get into his finances, but it was not a six-figure deal. I can tell you that. Moving forward, it was in the mid fives, low fives figure deal. But that's a national ad. You look at my experience in the NFL when we would do national ads with Tony Romo or Witten, Dez, it was very similar. What the true value is. So it's all going to come down to that evaluation, which they tell me is going to be what I'm accustomed to in the NFL. And then it's going to come down to enforcement. Because if you come in and we're all going to get audited by the same people at the end of the year to look at our cap space. So you come in and audit the cap, just like I would get audited in the NFL to make sure that I wasn't overpaying a Jason Witten to cheat the cap. I wasn't creating assets and undervaluing my assets to pay him to cheat against the cap. So everything they tell me in theory is going to be very enforced. That's something all the ADs and the commissioners have talked about in the room, that we want strict enforcement. And we're going through this and we'll find out. It's kind of like running out ground balls to see what games are going to be allowed to be played.
Sorry to cut you off there. How much is there a fear of litigation and it just basically tying this all up? Because obviously litigation is a huge thing in the NIL world up to this moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a fear, but you can't live your life on it. What are the rules? Rules of the game, and make sure you have a plan for whatever game we have to play. What the rules of those games are, we got a plan to move forward. But at the end of the day, if you're worried about litigation, you'll never get better. This is the best model for us, for when I say us, for the industry and college sports. It allows us to provide those educational opportunities. Just going through this, this roster limit the educational opportunities I'm providing the student athletes, our scholarships are going way up in full scholarships that we're able to provide student athletes to come here and they leave school with a great education from a top 20 public institution and debt-free. Because we're able to provide those. And that's something that really excites me. When you go through it, everybody talks football, and football is going to get taken care of. That is the thing that you have to have success in. What I'm worried about, what I fought for, even talking in the ACC lawsuit, was my softball program, my soccer program, my beach volleyball, my indoor. I mean, those sports are what worries me, to make sure we're providing those student athletes the opportunities and providing them the experience needed to go out and contribute in society and their communities.
Speaking of the ACC settlement, is it done? Is it finalized? I think there was roughly a window of 30 days after the announcement that they expected it to be finished up.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, they're still papering it up, but the bullet points are there and negotiated and done. And now it's instead of get out of the room, let lawyers do their job and paper it up.
Undefeated lawyers, those people.
Billable hours.
Great people.
Anything else, Chris, for Michael, before speaking of letting people get out of the room? I think we're running out of time here.
Well, on the idea of NIL enforcement, house, and just trying to basically put guardrails on the Wild West situation we've been in here for a few years. Tanai Latson, high-level basketball player for women's basketball at FSU. Do you think that the house settlement and the guardrails and the enforcement that's coming will help a program like FSU women's basketball, where the financial investment is only so much because there's only so much money to go around in the grand pot, keep players like that? Or do you think there's always going to be a market that allows a player of her level, a player who's viewed as one of the 5 or so best in college basketball, to kind of go and get the best opportunity for her financially? Where do you land with your hands-on knowledge of the house settlement and everything, with how that might influence a situation like that versus what we're dealing with right now?
Yeah, well, it comes up to every player, and every player is going to be a little different. Moving forward is the Wild West, and your player can come and go, shop. I mean, the agents are running around. What I try to talk to our players about is have a reputable agent that's going to do the right thing for you and not be looking out for themselves. You got to remember, the agents are incentivized to get players in the portal and to move them. They don't get paid unless that player goes in the portal and goes somewhere else. So they're constantly in the ear of the athletes, talking about the future, the program, where you should be better, your value. I mean, to hear some of the conversations are scary, just for the protection of the student athletes, what's best for them. You look at how many kids are in the portal right now, and you look at the percentages of ones that don't left a full scholarship in a good situation and get stuck, and now they're just there, and not, the grass wasn't greener. That's more happens more than what people don't understand. But the house settlement will allow you to have a contract, a relationship with a student athlete, and have, much like coaches, buyouts. If student athlete wants to leave and another school wants, there's a buyout clause in those contracts, as they should be. Anybody in the real world that's getting paid has contracts, and there are stipulations that you have to abide by. So that's coming in the future, and that's something I'm excited about, that as an opportunity to regulate guardrails for the student athletes. And I'm all for going out and getting the best opportunity you can get. I have no problem with that. I think it's great. I think it's best for the student athletes. They have those opportunities, but there's also some protections that you need to have in place.
Thank you.
All right. Is that everything, Chris?
I believe so.
Okay. Michael, thank you for joining us here. Appreciate it. I know we threw a bunch of different topics at you, but we appreciate your time and the clarity to those topics.
No, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you covering it. It's a dynamic time in intercollegiate athletics. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm not sure when this airs, Brendan. I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go spend 2 days in D.C. and to talk about the guardrails. And I give the people in Florida a lot of credit, because we've been leading. Everyone in D.C., the congressmen in D.C. have been leading this charge. And I have about 20 meetings in D.C. over the next 2 days, just to talk about, hey, this is what's best for collegiate athletics. And this is how we need to provide these opportunities to to these young people the educational opportunities and the financial opportunities to make the industry better. And so that's something we're working on.
And the goal is to push it through next Monday, more than likely.
I would hope is to continue to answer questions and to get some regulation into this process. Because as we talked earlier, if you got the house and then you're also allowed to go out and the pay for play portion is still there, that's just not a good industry to be in. And we're trying to just make sure we put those protections in.
Thank you again,
Michael. Thank you.
No, thank you guys. Thanks for what you do. Go Noles.